Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. So much happening today with the district attorney's office there in El Paso, and that's a very important office. And so we're paying attention, and so we have the news for that. And we just wanted to make sure that we could tell you the right information since the media is not covering this. You have to come to the Find Richard Halliday Facebook page for your news. And especially if you're on the borderland, this is a place to come. So we absolutely take questions and are very, very grateful for all of our sources. And yeah, so let's get started. This is day 2044 days since our son, Richard Halliday, a U.S. Army soldier stationed at Fort Bliss, was forcibly removed from his barracks room. He angered people. He angered people because he was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower about the terrible, vile, and vulgar things they were doing to children, the terrible things that they were doing trafficking to the American people, right? To the American people. And so he also had the answers for the um, the ties of Fort Bliss and the Walmart mass shooting case. So this is, I think that was really the main reason why they forcibly removed him and took him down to the basement room, and they took his life. And they renovated that room with no expense spared and without following any regulations at all. That came from the illegal order that was confirmed by DES, Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane, who confirmed that Major General James Eisenhower gave that illegal order to tamper with evidence, right? Tamper with evidence and obstruct justice. So, like we have been warning this last few days, um, we have been compiling almost 6 years names and filing uh, complaints and open records and gathering all the evidence, identifying all the crimes. I don't think all the crimes, but a lot of the crimes, the major crimes, in order to um, bring in lawsuits. And the lawsuit, I can tell you right now, the lawsuits are going to be epic, absolutely epic. And yeah, so we, are putting that out there because, people had time. They had time to do the right thing. And so now is the time for the lawsuits. Okay, so let's get started with the news and see if I can. So I already shook some things up. We were shaking things up a little bit about this Erika Kirk. People don't want to ask questions. They don't want to put. Well, I don't think so. I think people do want to ask questions. I think they have been putting together puzzle pieces when it comes to Erika Kirk, especially Candace Owens. And Candace Owens has a lot of help. She has a lot of sources. So a lot of people are sending her information. They're not happy about what happened to Charlie Kirk, and the investigation into um, uh, what happened to Charlie Kirk in front of all of our eyes. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on this. But the killing of Charlie Kirk. And we understand in our family, we understand exactly how how Candace feels, and all these other people that want to know and that are not happy about the investigation, because that's what we've been living with for almost 6 years in our son's case. We were told that if we wanted any kind of help at all, that we would have to conduct the investigation into our son ourselves. Okay, we were told that by the CID. We were told that by the command. Um, and of course, um, there, it's like, why do we even pay our taxes? Because of, we have been doing the media, the all of the documentation of the investigation, all the reaching out, all, um, and where was Veronica Escobar? Two times she denied us a congressional hearing. Um, Same thing with Tony Gonzalez. Where was he, right? And of course, Ted Cruz. We know that Ted Cruz had everything on his desk from Judge Roger Rodriguez in January of 2022, identifying the prime suspects in our son's case and also notifying about the tampering of Richard's files and everything by the prime suspects. And what did Ted Cruz do? I mean, um, I can tell you that he's up to no good. I can tell you he's up to no good. So this is not a left right. This is absolutely those that have been involved in criminal trafficking, the worst type of crimes against humanity, and of course, children. And our son stood up for the children. Our son stood up against the fraud, and also using these mass shootings, right? And this is 2 days ago, I reported and showed the video of Candace Owens putting it together that there's something really strange about these mass shootings, that there even seems to be, she alluded to, that could there possibly be crisis actors involved, an orchestration of these bloody, very bloody. It's not that people don't get hurt, right? They get hurt, but was it orchestrated? Do they twist the narrative with crisis actors, with false witnesses, promising them lawsuits of lots of money, or becoming fraudsters and collecting on, like the Walmart mass shooting victims funds uh, when you're not even qualified. I mean, these were really good questions that Candace Owens put out there, and we can tell you with the Walmart mass shooting case, we know that case very well. It's intertwined with um, our son's case, the loss of his life. So, of course, we're going to concentrate on this intertwined. If the Walmart mass shooting case gets solved, our son's case gets solved, and vice versa, and vice versa. And we've exposed the Mayellas being involved in it, who is an El Paso family that is very, very well connected and is employed in the judicial and law enforcement community in high places, with really this uh, high officials, connected to high officials there, that engaged in covering up that they were the family of Patrick Crucius, that they were connected um, to John of God, the Brazilian trafficker, right? Baby trafficker. And really the worst type of crimes against women and children. So this is the family of Patrick Crucius, and this is what El Paso judicial and law enforcement community covered up, right? And what they did is, and this is why I'm wearing this hat, and they attacked President Trump. That's what they were doing because President Trump was um, trying to take down this trafficking network. And you see that by the arrest of El Chapo and the arrest of El Mayo and the arrest of the Chapo's children and the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein, the subsequent arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell, and many, many more during that time. So he absolutely knows that El Paso and this Jeffrey Epstein pipeline that diverted after his arrest, it diverted onto Fort Bliss, the emergency intake center, 10,000 beds for unaccompanied children, y'all. For unaccompanied children, where do these? How can you have at a time and like 500,000 unaccompanied children, right? You know, I think they were stolen children. I think they were absolutely trafficked to that area. We know that the books were not kept, and the legal books anyway, the legal books. And so I'm really um, very um, how can I say this? I believe that in El Mencho is the CJNG leader that was just captured and killed in Jalisco, Mexico. And his lair was raided, his home was raided, or the headquarters. It was a nice place. It's a nice place when you look in the pictures. It's a beautiful place there. These are, I think he said to have $50 billion be worth $50 billion. Yeah. So these people really they were running by the looks of the books and um, and the ledgers and the other documents. It looks like they were running Mexico. Really, looks like they were running Mexico. But the CIA, who was part of that capture and kill, um, released some of those documents, some parts of those ledgers that absolutely revealed that the police and the prosecutors were security individuals, other government officials were compromised and taking money from El Mencho. Okay. So it showed, really proved that Mexico was a narco state, and we did not have to have that kind of proof to know it. Our family, because we lived it, we went there so many times, and our files were tampered with, and hard evidence was ignored, and this whole plenitude crematorium. Um, thing lately shows that they delay. They've had almost 9 months to identify the over 400 bodies that were found there in very rat infested, filthy conditions. And you would think that the world would be screaming out about these crimes against humanity, and demand that every one of those remains were identified. But the media has been captured, right? The media has been captured, probably from El Mencho too, or those that are in alliance with El Mencho. And so it's not the the child trafficking, all of those unaccompanied children. It would be very interesting, and I believe that there is evidence of that in the logs, and that because um by the looks of the logs, they were very particular because they were practically running the country, right? I think they were running the country. And they wrote it all down, and they did it in a very interesting handwriting. I'm very familiar with that. Um, Very interesting. It just tells you kind of like where they're from and where their education is from and all of that, which I'm very familiar with different curriculums around the world. I kind of collect them and different handwriting fonts, uh, from around the world. And so it's very interesting to see these handwritten ledgers and that because it kind of tells you who's working for them, right? Where are they from? And so handwriting analysis is very important. And I believe that it is it is most likely, apparently documented where these children are coming from and women because they did a lot of women also. And we know that it has ties with Jeffrey Epstein. We know that it has ties with Zorro Ranch, which borders the North Call Out of White Sands Missile Range. Um, we know that Richard was reporting on this kind of trafficking. We know that Fort Huachuca is involved because our CAO, our Casualty Affairs Officer, was asymmetric warfare officer that we caught using his asymmetric warfare tactics against us, his deception, and also other skills that were just so bad, y'all. It just was so bad. And to know that Jeffrey Epstein's pilot's daughter was at Fort Huachuca, because asymmetric warfare is at Fort Huachuca. Um, and to know that Jeffrey Epstein's pilot's daughter, Brooke, was an officer there um, at Fort Huachuca in the Army, um, and was given top secret clearance when the checks that she received for her schooling came from Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, they gave her top secret clearance? Really? That means there's an infiltration in the intelligence community. There's an infiltration at Fort Huachuca because Erika Kirk's mother was working there, was a contractor, was more than that. And she had gook as a description for her business, just those key words that people want to hear in the intelligence industry and the government industry. But if you try to follow what her company did, it was all just goobly gook. Um, and to get awards, they always award themselves just like these philanthropists, they award themselves over and over again. Just like these media people like Stephanie Via, right? Stephanie Via gets all these awards, right? But when something like this happens, as today did, when something happens like the Mayellas, when something happens like Julio Cordero, when something happens like Saroldi with his trafficking, it's just like, oh, quiet. It's like really quiet. Crickets, crickets. Can't say anything because my boss. Oh, isn't that what Regina called Representative Tony Gonzalez? is you've gone too far, boss. I think that's a little bit too far, boss. I don't want to send you those kinds of text messages, pictures, boss. It's a little too far, boss. I think Montoya has gone too far. Tampering with elections now. Firing the assistant district attorney for calling Montoya out for his unlawful use of the office of the district attorney in the 34th district. And he's a fake and a fraud anyway, and we have proven that over and over and over again, that James Bonneau Montoya is a fake and a fraud. Matter of fact, I probably should bring up that video. That's the video I should bring up. I wanted to do that, play that, and I forgot because it's so late. But, and I think it's a good time. It's a good time to think about what that means when the prosecutor is a fake and a fraud, and or that they are so deep compromised in violations like Carlos Manuel Salas that someone can take him by the nose and lead him around to do nothing and not be a prosecutor. Let me see if, I want to make sure that I can play this video because it's such a good video. And I got it. We have so much documented. There it is. I think it's a good time to play this.
Oh yeah, James Bonneau Montoya, Mr. Big Lies, you hit your name. Oh yeah, James Bonneau Montoya, Mr. Big Lies, you hit your name to capitalize. Oh yeah, Montoya, a fraud from the start, fake notary seal and tamper chart. Sold your oath for cartel gold. Now El Paso knows the lies you told. You're a fake, a fraud, a liar in a suit, and the ghost of Richard Halliday's coming for you. You see, he didn't just run for office. He ran a con. He didn't just drop a name. He dropped the truth. He needed a Mexican name, Montoya for the vote. His campaign promise was fake too. Death for Cruces, that's the vow he told you. But a plea deal was made with his hand. He's a liar at the cartel's command. You're a fake and a fraud, serving the FTOs, trafficking lies across border roads. James Montoya, liar in a suit, and the ghost of Richard Halliday's coming for you. Oh yeah, Montoya, got ears like satellite dishes but still can't hear the people screaming fake loud and clear. This ain't politics, this is a cartel network, this is an FTO. Ya basta, the people see clear. Your eyes saw the big gig, not the victim's tears. Justice for Richard Halliday, fight, 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 fight. Expose this fake DA hiding in plain sight. Oh yeah, Montoya filled now with a 2028 date. Ni madre sin. It's a system rot from the cartel within. Fraudulent forms, fake notary applied. He's illegally sitting, should be indicted, tried. You can't fight for the slain with a DA this fake. They're laundering justice for the cartel's sake. The truth's in the timestamps, the crimes in the redactions, and if the DA's the problem, then the solution, federal action. Esto no se queda así.
Because I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference. Big difference.
Wow, that's just so right on, and I could even add it too. When you see this pattern, with every case, right? You just see the fraud. You see what a fake DA does, and so today, uh, and you can, it's just speechless because you can absolutely see that there was trafficking going on in that pipeline. Everybody admits that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking. They are investigating for the first time, just recently, and how they're going to do it. It's going to be like blindfolded or something. They're going to investigate Zorro Ranch, which is it's over 10,000 acres. He owned like 7,500, but he leased acreage too. And then what about William Sanders' acreage, right? He sold at the same time, the 2019, as when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. They bought it just about the same time in 1990, 1990. 1. They bought their branches together. And then, of course, Bill Sanders is Beto O'Rourke's father-in-law, billionaire father-in-law, with, USA, Storage USA, right? Which in the files were notified for, um, being on the list to search for hiding databases and computers and everything of Jeffrey Epstein, all the evidence and everything all the videos and that, I guess blackmail material, right? Um, so that was in the file release, and then of course you had Cesar Duarte, which is married to Miss Fong. There, that's a Chinese connection there, and with uh, connection with Dreams Cabaret. I mean, all of this evidence, it gets to be hard to follow, but it all goes back to Zorro Ranch and White Sands Missile Range, Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's really, New Mexico is really epicenter along with El Paso, that whole area, because of Fort Bliss and Fort Huachuca being controlling the airspace. So you can go right when you see the map, you can go right up, and I should bring that map up because I think it's so important. Um, I think it's so important to see these maps to get an idea of what I'm saying. It clarifies everything. This one is good. Let's see. So here it is. So there's Zorro Ranch. Right above Zorro Ranch is William Sanders Ranch. Acres and acres, y'all. I mean, huge properties. Okay. And then right here, where the cursor is. I don't know if you can see my cursor right northwest of Zorro Ranch. I mean, just miles away. Not, what, 20, 30 miles away is Santa Fe, New Mexico, right? There there is Fort Bliss, right? So you have Fort Bliss, but right above Fort Bliss is White Sands Missile Range. Okay. White Sands Missile Range is all this area here. So if you're flying up here, here's Fort Huachuca. That's, controls that airspace. They're the intelligence hub. They're the asymmetric warfare. This is where Erika Kirk was living. This is where she was living. This is where her mother was working, Fort Huachuca, doing deals, right? This is Fort Bliss. This is Zorro Ranch. And of course, here's Mexico. You go across, and Cuba. And we know through this Soroldi case that Cuban women were being trafficked up through this area, this Fort Bliss, Zorro Ranch area. We also know about the Haiti children and the Clinton Foundation and the Haiti children. And Erika Kirk was living in Dominican Republic for a little bit, right? Uh, no, in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's right here. Dominican Republic. We just revealed that that was a place for the visas, that they were the ones that were giving out the fraudulent visas or the visas, making visa deals for money to get into the United States, right? We just revealed that. And then you have little St. James Island right there by Puerto Rico. And right here you have Caracas, Venezuela. This is fuel. And also um, election tampering machines, right? The voting machines, right? That's a big deal there. And then here is the John of God Brazilian connection, the baby farms, right? The baby farms. And of course, you have Oprah right there. She was promoting John of God. Like she went down there. I don't know how many times she went down there. And of course, she is the one that platformed Beto O'Rourke. And so we revealed this. So here she is with John of God. And then you have Patrick Crusius's father, which, let's see, I have to make it. Oh, it got cut off here. But this is John, the John of God disciple, which is Patrick Crusius, a defendant in the Walmart mass shooting case, whose family with the Mayellas, which is the big law enforcement community. Clearly, the way they conducted the Walmart mass shooting, the connections with the military, the cover up, the cover up, the cover up. It was orchestrated, absolutely, was a bloody, absolutely. But the truth was not revealed, has not been revealed. We've done a lot of the work to reveal the truth of the Walmart mass shooting, but Candace Owens said it. It's about these false witnesses, and some people call them crisis actors. And we know that Ernest Christopher Grant absolutely told lies. He was a crisis actor to the nth degree and told the most horrid, horrific lies that were really, to me, they created a national security threat, really. His lies about that is just really, and maybe, yeah, I'll let the lawyers correct me if I'm wrong. And then, of course, we have New Mexico. So here's El Paso, and here is Santa Fe. Here is the Zorro Ranch, and here is White Sands. So this is all restricted airspace. You can just fly right here, and right here, right where uh, the airstrip is, where the pilot was given land to live on. He was given a place to live, a house and everything. I'm sure it was probably near the hangar, because he had his own hangar, his own um, um, airstrip, And, and right here, of course, the Santa Teresa Jetport, an international jetport, which is, controlled by the philanthropists, right? The philanthropists. And then right over here is Fort Huachuca in Arizona. But so you can see this direct from Mexico, El Paso, Fort Bliss, White Sands, and this picture here, if you go to the site and really look at this picture, this is where the emergency intake center was. Beds, 10,000 beds for unaccompanied children. So this is, like if you look at the greater picture, it's right there. That's where the beds were. That's where the beds were for 10,000 children at a time. 10,000 children at a time. And, I can tell you so much more about the contracts for that place, who they were given to. And, it's just the same group. It's the same group. And that same group includes those at Fort Huachuca. And Erika Kirk then, and I can tell you, I'm a witness to this. I'm a witness, eyewitness to this, that in this area here, right over the border and in El Paso, there are so many shelters and orphanages that it is really chilling. It really is creepy, right? And because they're not nice, y'all. They are ugly. They are, you wouldn't want any child to go there. You wouldn't want any troubled woman in crisis to have to stay there. They're not nice. So, matter of fact, I forgot to turn on my phone to see comments. Yeah, I'm ready now. Those at Fort Huachuca. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. Miss or Danae and Ashley, thank you so much. Thank you. God bless your heart and all the endless energy and time you've put into bring your hero home. Thank you so much. Yes, and he is. And we never knew that this would be this, that it would tie to Jeffrey Epstein's pipeline, that it would tie to Fort Huachuca, that it would tie to Romanian orphanages, because it does. It ties to Romanian orphanages because the military started a base over there at the height of the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking, I believe 2010, 2012, and Erika Kirk then has these connections, and she goes first to China and works with women that have been sex trafficked. Why did she do that? All she had to do, she lives in Arizona. All you have to do is go right there in your backyard. They're all there. Why going over to China? Something doesn't make sense, right? And then to go to Romania and set up, like, I've got to help these Romanian children. Help them to what? Connect with the military? Connect to Marines and then to the Army? And these Marines that were in that area, they trained. They came, even though they were from Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, they would go to, I said last night, Fort Bliss. And, I should have said White Sands Missile Range. But of course it's Fort Bliss to train at White Sands Missile Range. Now, I don't know if that's where they had their housing, was at White Sands Missile Range. My birthplace, that's where I was born, White Sands Missile Range. It's on my birth certificate. White Sands Missile Range, not El Paso. I'm one of the very few babies ever to be born there, and praise God, not trafficked, to wonderful parents that protected me, protected me. And they 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 know a lot. They knew a lot about that whole area. They know a lot about that whole area because that's where I grew up. That's where my parents belonged to the German American Club. There were a lot of Germans. And if you watch the Jeffrey Epstein interview with Steve Bannon, you will learn why. Because of this laboratory, because of their research and everything that they were doing. They had this transhumanism view. And, so these Marines that would rotate to Romania and train at Fort Bliss, because Fort Bliss has the ranges. Fort Bliss has the firing capability, the firing training capability there. And it's huge. It's just a huge piece of land. You see it. Look at Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is just a dot, but White Sands Missile Range is huge. Absolutely. This green part here is the main base of it. But all of this, this all training area and call-ups, call-outs, call-ups. So because of all of their their drones, a lot of drone testing there and everything. So yes, so that is that connects it. And why would she have to go to Romania? As a young lady, she could just go right to Fort Bliss. She could go right to El Paso. She could go right to Juarez. She could go right, she's right there in Arizona. And they had a lot of problems with children. There's a lot of cases there that would absolutely shock you. None that are so epic as our son's case with the 10,000 bed camp that's right there, and all the places of the world where all of our military is. The camp for 10,000 children at a time is right there beside Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. Richard, absolutely a hero. And so I posted about this because this is really important information, right? Very important information. And you wouldn't believe, very quickly. And let me see if I can even get to it to show you, because I think it's just absolutely jaw-dropping with when the first, okay, here it is. Like the first, let's see. This person, I don't know who this person is. Lynn Erickson Voorhees. Okay. Tag TPUSA. Very good. Very good. They need to know. They need to answer. They need to explain themselves. Because there's some really creepy things and a lot of lies. And a lot of it just can't be a coincidence. Okay? It just can't be a coincidence. And of course, the camp there in Romania was shut down. Why? Look that one up. It says here he is. Here we are at Gold Star family of Richard Halliday. Proof or STFU and be prepared for a lawsuit. That was like I think it was the first comment that this post got. And I want to show you, look at this. He this is something that people have to understand. They try to take your symbols. They try to take your power, right? And where's the power right now? With President Trump. They're trying to take his power. They're trying to take his symbol, like the hat, right? They're going to try to take it, just like they've taken other symbols and have infiltrated into our military, into our churches, and know this, that Candace Owens and I was absolutely aware of this, but they were at Fort Huachuca training people to infiltrate, to be spies, to be counterintelligence, or to sabotage. They were training saboteurs to go into our Christian churches, all denominations, from Roman Catholic to Pentecostal. All right. So he is, or her, whoever is leading this, is trying to hide behind the very effort to dismantle the pipeline. And how do I know that? Because I've been working with the dismantling of this behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. The filing, and in communication. They are, you have over 100 extraditions to the United States of these operatives, the worst types, the CGNGs, the arrest of La Diabla, right? But then all the extraditions were the extraditions. The extraditions, a lot of them were finance parts of the cartel. Why? Because you want to know where the money, you follow the money, and then you know. And why was Charlie Kirk killed? Was he trying to follow the money? Was he trying to follow the money? Had TPUSA been infiltrated? Has our churches been infiltrated? Has our school boards been infiltrated? Has our judicial system been infiltrated? Has our DA's offices been infiltrated? Has, the Congress been infiltrated? By what? By philanthropists? By philanthropists? That are really the El Paso Mormon faction cartel in alliance with the Mexican cartel? They hide behind the word philanthropist when they are like monsters. And, let's put up a pretty, look at all the hats. I refuse to let them conquer the hat, because the hat says, "Make America Great Again." Yeah, look at that. And he's the one. Can you imagine? He's hiding behind all of this, or she, I don't know, Lynn or whatever. And to say to us, when we have all of this evidence that connects all of this together, to tell us to STFU? Really? We have been threatened. I can't tell you how many times people have told us that. How many threats, how many intimidations, how many harassments. And now the very people that pretend, that are imposters, like James Montoya, he's a fake and he's a fraud. He's an imposter DA, and he fires his assistant DA for calling him out on his unlawful activity. That's a retaliation. So that's the harassment, the fraud, the intimidation. You better not do this. The harassment, like Tony Gonzalez showed us. Hey, it was for pure sex. For pure sex. There was no love there. When you read the messages that Tony Gonzalez sent to his staffer, he's an animal. He's a monster. He's cold-blooded. And, in my faith, when you do things like that, it's treason against the family. He's a traitor against his own family. And if he's going to be a traitor and commit treason against his own family and destroy another family, then how can he be a congressman? How can he get the privilege of that office? And he's going to be there for a little bit. He's going to be there for a little bit. He's not going to run for re-election, but he's going to be there a little bit. But he was calling out Woody Hunt, right? He was calling out Woody Hunt, and then he had a fundraiser with Woody Hunt, right? A Woody Hunt fundraiser. And then all of a sudden, I guess it was ruinous. It was really ruinous for so many. Yeah. So, and then of course, James Beno Montoya. It's ruinous for so many. Look at Julio Cordero. He would be alive still, I believe. He'd be alive still. Look at the Cuban women in the Soroldi case. I mean, James Montoya called them prostitutes. He's disgusting. He comes out of the same mold as Tony Gonzalez. Out of the same mold as, well, I didn't want to say it. Yeah. And then this guy and they're hiding behind being a congressman. Oh, I'm so ethical. Look at my family. It's like Justin Underwood always does that too, his commercials. Look at my beautiful family. And he's like the biggest creep ever. And I know so much about, he's so creepy. Yeah. So this person that is being so disrespectful is probably a James Montoya fan, probably a Tony Gonzalez fan, probably he's not a Trump fan, let me tell you. He's not. He can hide behind Trump, but they are deceivers. And what they've done to TPUSA, it's just disgusting. What they've done to our churches. We've all known, we're happy in our church, and then all of a sudden, they want to do the weirdest thing and allow the weirdest things that are so unchristian. You're like, okay, we have to divide now. And then there's all these schisms in the churches, and you're like, why is that happening? Why is that happening? Because we have deceivers gone wild. And we have the El Paso Mormon faction cartel that are very connected to asymmetric warfare tactics, military intelligence, the CIA, the FBI, and what all that mind control stuff, and then the power of Fort Bliss, because Fort Bliss is like the trafficking of, the weapon, the 1AD. And then, of course, Mexico and what they've did to Mexico. It's just disgusting. And what they've done to other countries. Look at what they were trying to do to Romania. I can't even imagine what's happening in China. So, but we have to worry about, I have to stay focused, y'all. This borderland, our son's case, Plenitude Crematorium, where they dump narco crematorium dumping ground for these bodies that who knows what they did to them. We know there's organ harvesting. We know there were illegal C-sections. We know that there was signs of abuse and torture on these bodies. Yeah. So what happened today is a big deal because the media is not covering it, and it is, and I'll put this up too. It is the firing. The assistant district attorney, Alex Cuellar, was terminated after accusing James Montoya of unlawful conduct. What was his crime? His crime was calling Montoya out for the misuse of his position for politics. But James Montoya's problems are much bigger because he's a fake and he's a fraud, and everything he does, every signature, what is that called? The heading there. I know it, but anyway, it's late. It's almost 2:00 in the morning. All of that is fake. Everything is fake. This signature is fake. The firing of Mr. Cuellar is fake. It's illegal. So the 2028 stamp is fake. And then they went back and in the comment section, I did post it. Let's see where it is. Yeah, this one here. See how they crossed it out and then put all these other stamps? And what they did is when they put the other stamps, look at what they did. They backstamped it. This is, I don't know how long ago after this date, they went and stamped it with this exact minute. Look at that, with the exact minute. This is the 2028 stamp. And then they got the district clerk to do it again and backstamp the district clerk stamp. This is all tampering. It's absolutely tampering. You can't backstamp your stamp. Then why do we even have timestamps? This is not when it got stamped. The stamp can't be tampered with. At the time of stamping, it needs to be the time of stamping. Not dial it where you want it to go and change history. This is so fraudulent. So fraudulent. It's just I just can't even tell you how disgusting it is. And of course, we've had these documents because we've had the open. Oh, and this is a big point that I need to say before I go. We had these open documents, right? These public documents. We did the open records request for them. We received them. It was hard got. It was, it's not like easy. They're hard to come by. And this is up there now for some reason. You can get that one. But these documents here, the new documents today about the firing of Cuellar, which they're just incredible, y'all. The PDFs and all the files that go with it. Uh, they admitted to us that they were withholding these files. They confirmed their own crimes. And I'll address that tomorrow, but because we're still going through this today. But this is so big. The office of the DA confirmed that they were obstructing justice, withholding these open off or giving us false information and withholding this open records from us. And yeah, that is what an imposter DA does. That is what an imposter DA office does. It is like dominoes. One crime leads to another crime. There's a German card game that I love. It's called Amen. It's a Christian version in German of Uno. It's like Uno, but it's German and it's called Amen, and it has a twist to it. There's a twist, and the twist is like the take two card, right? You have the take two card and the take three card, right? The take two card, which you don't want to get, is called sin, Sünde. And it will, if I put down the yellow Sünde card, sin card, the next person can put down a red sin card, and then the next person would have to take 4. And you can add it to it. Or the same thing with the take 3 card is herzlos, the heartless card. You put down the heartless card, and the next person can put down their heartless card, and the heartless number, the cards that you'd have to take, which you don't want to take cards in this game, would be, just add up. And then all of a sudden you have all these cards in your hands because the sin adds up and the heartlessness adds up. This is exactly what happens when you have an imposter DA. Because this is the prosecutor for crimes. And if the prosecutor for crimes is a fraud, is himself engaging in unlawful conduct, then it becomes squared. It just adds up and it multiplies. So that's why we're screaming at this. Not screaming, but presenting it over and over and over again for people to understand, because so many people get hurt. So many cases get botched. There's a pattern here, right? And then you have the media that works in his office with him. You have Stephanie Valle, right? What was she? She was KVIA, right? KVIA. And she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna quit because I want to stay at home with my family." And then all of a sudden, she jumps over there at the DA's office. Right? Do you buy that? I don't buy that. These are imposters. They are perpetual liars, and it seems to me that they are in the same group with Erika Kirk. She's a deceiver, an infiltrator. That's what it seems to me. And lying. And I really think she needs to be questioned. I totally agree with Candace with that. That is another case, but it's intertwined with Richard's because it has to do with Fort Bliss and White Sands and the trafficking and what Richard was reporting. So let's look at the comments now. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for translating this all in Spanish. Yes. And where is the media? I mean, she's over there, right? No, you have to come here. You have to come here for the news. And we've been intimidated, we've been threatened, we've been harassed. This person that doesn't want the truth out, that tells us to STFU, watching us very carefully, threatens us with a lawsuit. You better be prepared for a loss. What's that? I think he needs to say, you know what? Erika Kirk, if he was a true Make America Great Again, or her, if she was a true Make America Great, I don't know if Lynn is a guy or a gal, she would say, you know what? Erika needs to answer these questions. She has some explaining to do. And it's because she's just not just a widow. She is now CEO of a it's a billionaire, the money that TPUSA has made and all the millions that have been donated to her family, because of their love for Charlie Kirk. And then also all the money that was donated to TPUSA, all the money that they make, they influence politics. They influence elections. Oh, yeah. And by James Montoya doing this firing on the day of the election, before the election, he tampered with the election. He interfered with the election. So now he's it's President Trump has been right all along. They interfere with elections. So there's so much to be said. There's so much news coming out. Everything's being exposed, which is very good. Very good, because then we won't be fooled, because they want to do asymmetric warfare tactics on us. They want to do the hypnosis. They want to do the mind control. They want to lead us around. And now when we ask questions, hey, Erika, something's not right. Hey, casualty affairs officer, asymmetric warfare, why were you using your training against us? Why is it that the 10,000 bed emergency intake center is right there where Jeffrey Epstein's pipeline is, and it just came down? It just came down. They just got it out, so they had to kind of divert the trafficking to Fort Bliss. Is that what they did? Hey, why did you have to use all kinds of money to renovate the crime scene where our son was killed? On Fort Bliss? At the expense of taxpayers. This is all at the expense of taxpayers. Let's put up a base so we can traffic. Let's traffic through the base. Let's do contracts and make the taxpayers pay for the beds. What about all the airspace and the security? All the security. Does our military become the guards for the trafficking network? The transportation for the trafficking network? Do they become the bookkeepers for the money laundering and the embezzlement and all of that? do they become the fixers? Do they become, well, in our son's case, the code red, those that go and forcibly remove a soldier, a whistleblower out of his barracks room to take his life and then to steal his body and dismember it and uh, hand it over to cartel to dispose of? Is that what they are? Yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to be silenced. Mm-mm. What they did, what they're doing. And yeah, the lawsuits are coming and the lawsuits will also reveal a lot more too. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. And